It is one of the biggest questions in art history. Why is Leonardo da Vinci such a popular artist? The consensus is that there are some 18 paintings that can confidently be attributed to this Renaissance master. During his life, he was overshadowed by artists like Michelangelo and ignored by the powerful Medici family in Florence and the popes in Rome. They considered Da Vinci a pretty uneducated man who wasn't even able to write or read Latin. And yet, many consider him the most popular artist ever. In his defense, the most expensive painting in the world was probably painted by him. His Mona Lisa is arguably the most popular painting, and his fresco of the Last Supper is among the most admired frescoes in the world. So let's figure out what the legacy of Da Vinci is and why he is so popular. Looking at Da Vinci's art, we can identify 5 main features that made his art unique and that would have a lasting influence on art history. The first one is his use of the pyramid as the main geometric element of a composition, something that is clearly visible in the arrangements of people in his paintings of the Virgin of the Rocks, but also the Virgin and Child with Saint Anne. The second artistic innovation of Da Vinci was the importance of expressing a shared emotional connection between figures, like in his painting of Saint Anne, but also very noticeable in the Last Supper. Before Da Vinci, artists depicting the Last Supper mainly depicted the moment that Jesus is breaking the bread. The problem with that moment is that the other disciples are passively waiting for Jesus to do his job, creating a very static composition. Da Vinci therefore chose the moment that Jesus mentioned that one of his disciples would betray him, creating a lot of chatter and dynamics among the disciples and thus making the scene come alive. A third innovation, and perhaps the most famous one, was the way he created the human body by using subtle shading known as the sfumato technique. We know this from his Mona Lisa, but it is perhaps even better visible in his painting of St. John the Baptist. The soft transitions between lighter and darker colors were very different than the hard transitions between colors that artists before him used. The result was that his portraits look more believable and lifelike. A fourth innovation was the use of chiaroscuro, the contrast between light and dark areas to create drama. This meant that not the whole canvas is lit up by natural light, but that some areas are painted in relatively more light, while others appear much darker. Taking this to the extreme in his Lady with an Ermine, it means that the background is almost completely black, something also known as tenebrism. The fifth and final innovation by Da Vinci was his use of optical perspective, which are atmospheric effects to suggest depth, rather than using linear perspective. Look at this Mona Lisa, where Da Vinci includes a landscape in the background, a natural way to create depth and three-dimensionality in the painting, rather than mathematically following the rules of linear perspective. So, what was the impact of Da Vinci on other artists from his period? He had some loyal followers, but none of them became really famous enough to continue his school of thought by themselves. The impact of his innovations was more scattered. For example, in 1504, a 21-year-old Raphael spent several weeks, perhaps a couple of months, in the Da Vinci workshop in Florence. There, he would have seen Da Vinci working on the Mona Lisa, and Raphael had the opportunity to make a drawing of Da Vinci's most famous painting. And he had also made a drawing of Leda and the Swan, a missing painting by Da Vinci about which I recently made a video. Even though they spent only a short time together, Da Vinci had a big impact on Raphael, most noticeably through his use of the pyramidical compositions, something that has become a trademark of many of Raphael's works. But also the sfumato technique, the use of landscapes in the backgrounds to create depth in the painting, and even the psychological interactions between the different characters in his paintings, something that is already visible in the Madonna del Prato, which he painted a year after his stay in Da Vinci's workshop. The one element that Raphael did not adopt was the use of chiaroscuro, as his works do not have the strong contrast between light and dark. The figures in Raphael's paintings are full of sunlight. Raphael was not the only artist from the High Renaissance directly influenced by Da Vinci. Others include Andrea del Sarto, Correggio, and Giorgione, who had seen some of Da Vinci's works during Leonardo's short visit to Venice. Giorgione revolutionized Venetian painting by incorporating, among other things, the sfumato technique of Da Vinci and his use of atmospheric perspective, using the landscape as a means to create depth. However, one influential artist from the High Renaissance who was not influenced by Da Vinci was Michelangelo, who developed his own distinct style. And his most influential painting, the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, would have a huge impact on Italian artists from the 16th century, leading to the development of the new Mannerism art movement. And that should probably have meant the end of Da Vinci's major influence on art. Except it wasn't, as we all know today, there would be a revival. There are a few distinct factors that Da Vinci was not largely forgotten in the centuries after his death. One very important reason is that several people wrote some short biographies on his life and work in the decades after his death. The most important one was by Giorgio Vasari, widely considered the first real art historian, and he wrote an extensive biography about Da Vinci, arguably only giving more praise to Michelangelo. These biographies were aided by a close friend of Leonardo named Francesco Melzi, who owned most of the many notes Da Vinci had made during his life. Da Vinci loved to make extensive notes about all his ideas, and Melzi kept them and tried to put them in a more understandable story, greatly helping our knowledge about Da Vinci today. Another development that kept the name of Da Vinci alive was the development of engravings, and the Last Supper was probably the most engraved image in the 16th and 17th centuries, being spread throughout Europe such that artists like Rembrandt, who never set foot out of his own country, were familiar with it. The Mona Lisa was not so easy to engrave because of its subtle sfumato technique and the mysterious landscape in the background, and it would take until the 19th century, with the invention of steel engraving, that prints of the Mona Lisa would be widely available throughout Europe. In the beginning of the 20th century, the popularity of artists from the past decreased dramatically, as all sorts of modern art styles were developed. However, one artist from the past became more popular, and that was Leonardo da Vinci. It helped a lot that his extensive notes were put into book form by the end of the 19th century, and people could now understand all his innovative ideas about technology, an area that was popular during this time. And it also did not hurt Da Vinci's reputation that the Mona Lisa was stolen from the Louvre in 1911, resulting in a lot of press coverage throughout Europe. The popularity of Da Vinci gradually continued to rise over the next century, culminating in an auction night in November 2017 at Christie's, where Da Vinci's Salvator Mundi was sold for an all-time record price for an artwork of $400 million without fees and over $450 million with fees. Well, I hope this video has made it more clear on why Da Vinci is so popular as an artist today. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe and hit the notification bell to be alerted when new videos are released. Thanks for watching.